Hey y'all, I'm Brad of Brave the Woods. Today in this working demo / interview, I am super excited to introduce you to yet another talented illustrator, Kasey Golden. I actually discovered Kasey's illustrations through her YouTube channel, which is wildly successful and rightly so. She does these awesome fun characters, and she does them typically in watercolor, and sometimes she even sews them. But she does these drawing challenges and these drawing prompts that she follows religiously, and it's just really inspiring to see, and it's such a fun world that she's created there with her illustrations. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Kasey Golden.
Hey there!
Hey, Kasey. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, I'm amazing, I'm beautiful, I'm a model, I love to eat food.
Your Japanese snacks? Is that your favorite?
Oh, yeah. My favorite.
All right, well, what are you going to be drawing for us today?
Wait, we're not eating?
I forgot
what?
the snacks. I personally forgot the snacks. I was assuming if there was any eating that you would have brought the snacks.
You don't invite me onto your show and expect me to bring my own snacks?
I don't have Japanese snacks. Do you like any snacks? I mean, I may have some like Tex-Mex around here or something.
I'll eat anything.
It's slightly spicy. Are you okay with spicy?
Oh yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, I'm gonna go round up some Tex-Mex, and then maybe we can meet human Kasey?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome, thanks.
Hi, yeah, so I'm Kasey Golden. I make YouTube videos for a living. I studied graphic design, but my passion has always been illustration. So I'm very thankful that YouTube has kind of became my thing unexpectedly. I grew up in Tennessee. That's where I studied graphic design, and now I live in Canada.
Awesome. I didn't know you studied graphic design, actually.
I did. I know.
That's news to me.
It wasn't really my main thing. It was just something as like a backup job because I did want to do illustration.
Sure.
So graphic design was like a safe route to go.
Interesting. Yeah, it's funny because that was a safe route for me because I was trying to go into the, not necessarily illustration, but I was trying to do painting and fine art.
Okay.
And then I realized quickly that everybody was much better than me when I got to college. So I was like, okay, safety net. I need to figure out how to make money and make a career out of this. So, and you just hit 1 million subscribers on your channel. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is super cool.
Now that's something I didn't expect ever to happen for sure.
And you did it quick, like two and a half years, you were saying?
Yeah, 2.5 years.
500 prompts is what you've been doing on your YouTube channel. The prompts especially are tricky for me because if I was trying to do those, sometimes I'd be like, I don't really want to draw that. Like,
right,
I understand
right.
That's what they're there for, right? Like to draw them because it's going to force you to be creative and try something different, which I like to do. But sometimes it's like, I don't want to draw that. Do you ever get that when you're doing your prompts that you just don't want to draw whatever it's telling you to draw?
Yeah, and that's exactly why I bought the book. So it's this published a book by a company, 500 drawing prompts, and I knew that if I used, like, there are plenty of online prompt generators, but I just knew I'd be like, nope, next. So I was like, if I get a book, you have to do that page because it's printed there, so you have to do it. So yeah, there's been plenty of times where I'm just like, I'm not feeling this, and then if I push through it, sometimes I get an amazing illustration, but then there are times where I'm not feeling this, and you can tell, and the whole drawing is just like.
But the point of it, right, is that you're actually just drawing, and it doesn't.
Right.
I don't think the end result is necessarily the most important part of that process. Crazy. Well, it seems like you have a following at least for the 500, prompts,
yes.
and that's.
I think that's like my core audience.
It's cool. Well, you've integrated them into it too. I feel like that's cool. You're able to showcase other people's work who are doing the similar thing.
I love that. That part is so fun.
That's cool. Well, I'll make sure to put the link to the book here in below in the description. All right, let's jump straight into what we're going to be working on today. So, do you mind just kind of introducing what you're going to be drawing today with us?
Yeah, so today I'm actually going to be working on one of the 500 drawing prompts, video prompts. So I will have that speed paint on my channel. But for now, I'm going to be working on it in live speed.
Yes.
So the prompt this week is mad scientist. It's just one word.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. That seems like a real fun one.
Yeah, I kind of went a little crazy with it, so we'll see.
Well, it's in perfect time. I'm going to say it should be awesome for October too. Do they correlate with the month as well, or no? Is it just random?
No, it's random. There was one time where I got one that was like Christmassy, like in the middle of the year, I think, or there was something that was just like completely not lined up, and I was just like, well, here we go.
That's funny. Oh, I say yeah, because you'd have to, if you're posting it, you'd like it to be somewhat, on schedule with the holiday.
I remember one December I was theming them to be Christmassy, even though the prompts weren't Christmassy.
Oh, so you can make that mad scientist Christmassy if you wanted to,
or
Halloween.
That would have been really fun.
We're just adding to the challenge.
Exactly.
So do you work mainly in Procreate? Because that's what you have on right now, right? On an iPad, or?
If I'm doing digital art, then I mainly work with Procreate. But usually I work with watercolors. That's true. That's my main thing.
So why watercolors? So I've done watercolors before. They are really fun. I feel like it can be kind of a tricky medium to work in.
Right.
Why watercolor for you?
I wish I could answer that. I honestly don't remember the first time I picked up watercolors. I do remember using them in college. I just happened to have just like one of those cheap like dollar sets you get with the little circle palettes. And I don't know how I got it. I don't know why I had it or watercolor paper, because I don't specifically remember going out and getting it. But I had it and I used it and I enjoyed it. So it was always just a medium that I felt like really was easy for me to work with, I guess, and kind of matched my art style a little bit.
Do you like how, like for me, when I used it, I liked how quick it was, like how quickly it dried, how quickly I could I had to work quickly with it instead of, I could, like oil painting stressed me out because
oh my gosh,
it just was like, I felt like, well, it never dried, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to wait for the next stage, like this part to dry before I can interact with it some more, and I don't like working that way. So watercolor was actually really fun for me for that reason. I liked just like putting stuff down real quick, having it dry. That's why I did acrylic painting over oil painting any day, because it literally just dried as I was working with it.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate that with watercolor, because I actually used oil for the first time last month. It was in one of those mystery art boxes.
I saw that one. Yeah.
It's still wet.
Is it still wet?
Yes. It's still like tacky a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know some of the parts were really thick, so I guess that was my bad, but it's still wet. And I'm just like, do I throw you away? I like you. Like, what do I do with it?
Somehow you need to cure it.
Yeah. Well, they didn't give us anything like that in the box, so I was kind of
just let it.
Yeah.
Air dry it out. Yeah. It does take a long time. It has a cool effect, but I'd much rather like have the oil paint effect by just having a brush on Procreate that did it. Honestly,
exactly.
I'm actually working on a project right now where that's like the case. I'm like, man, this is so nice. I don't have to get anything messy. Don't have to wait for it to dry. Yeah,
it's fun to get messy every once in a while, though.
It is when I'm planning. Like when I'm not. For me, like it stresses me out when I'm trying to do a project for a client. Like when I'm trying to that's why. Like I love digital for client work, and when I'm a lot of times I'll play with like more analog methods outside mediums when it's not a client project, which is just for fun. Just because I get terrified of the fact that I can't go back. Like I have to start over if I mess something up, or I have to paint over. That stresses me out not having layers. I got spoiled with layers and the undo.
That's exactly why I started using. I was primarily a digital artist for the longest time, and I just got so sick of the undo button, and then I used Illustrator, so I was constantly editing every single tiny little line to the exact location that I wanted it, and it took so long to finish anything, and I was like, I can't work like this anymore. It's like driving me crazy. So with traditional art, you gotta move on. Whatever you do, it's done, and I really like that.
Yeah, that would be freeing, wouldn't it? I'm not thinking all the client projects I have this week, and I'm like, no, I wish I could just be like, I'm done. Yes, this looks good. But yeah, I feel like with the digital art, you do kind of play around with it a little bit because you can always erase it, or you can make the other thing that I do is I make a million versions of the same thing, where especially with colors, I'll have I'll make something and I'll be like, oh, that looks good in red, but it looks good in blue too. And then I try it in all these different colorways, and I just like have the hardest time making up my mind which one I want to like show off or send to the client or whatever it is. But are you distressing your lines?
That's exactly it. I'm sorry, what?
Are you distressing your lines as you're going ahead?
Yeah, when I do traditional art, I like to do line work like broken up like this.
Yeah.
But I find that it doesn't look as good digitally sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of playing around with erasing it. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but we'll see.
Are you erasing it with the same tool that
I am.
Using? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the same brush.
That was like the nicest thing I found when I was working with Procreate. That was one of those like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I can erase with the same tool that I'm using.
Yes.
So, especially with like paintbrushes, it's kind of cool because when it erases it, it doesn't take away that like painted edge. It'll still leave it pretty rough, which I like. So for those, I don't know why I'm saying this. You probably already know this for those who are watching right now. But if you have the pen tool or you have your paintbrush, whatever you're using, if you go straight over to your tap on and hold on your eraser tool, it'll pick up whatever brush that you're using to paint with, and it'll use it as your brush as for the eraser. I should have said it a little easier, but yeah, that's a cool tip. It's a good tip, and I like that you're distressing it too because I do the same thing with shapes. I loved working in, like you were saying, like working in Illustrator. I feel like that was like the most natural. That was like my first introduction to like digital art and it was weird because I thought it would be something like drawing with, in Photoshop or painting in Photoshop, but it really wasn't. It was Illustrator because I went the design route, and so that was kind of like my natural progression, going from design and trying to get back to my Illustrator roots and then use Adobe Illustrator. But I noticed everything was so clean and vectory that I would take it back to Photoshop and I would roughen all the edges with like a brush. I'd kind of redraw the circle and use it as more of a guide, or just add little edges there that were kind of fuzzy. And same reason though. I like the look of it. It felt more analog, more
interesting,
approachable, I think.
I really liked Illustrator because it was really clean. But now I'm just like, I gotta get away from that. It's too like addictive.
Did it ever? Yeah. Okay. That's interesting that you say it that way too, because like I never thought of it that way. I always thought of it as like I was trying to get away from just making something that everybody else could. I was like, if everybody used the same tool, like they could all draw the same, like create the circle the exact same way. But like maybe I draw my circles differently or whatever. Like, if I was going to hand paint it, I could paint it completely different, and it would somehow have some sort of ownership over that stupid circle.
Oh my gosh.
But that was kind of like but also, but what you're saying, just like finicking or like being super finicky and kind of playing around with the same thing over and over again. That's really, that's what I did a lot. So you have, so is this the graph? Is that the graph background? Or how did you get the background like that?
Yeah, so if you go to the tools and then Canvas, there's a drawing guide option that you can click. Oh, you can edit the drawing guide. I had no idea.
Oh wait, you haven't clicked on that yet?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I'm very like, I do as little as possible. Sometimes I'm just like, if I start fiddling with things, I'll fiddle with it all day.
Oh gosh, well don't click this one because this one's amazing. You can change the color of your drawing guides.
Oh no! What have I done?
Oh my god!
Oh, the perspective? Wait, that's what I need right now. Isometric.
That's literally what you're doing right now. I was just about to ask you, do you like the work in isometric view?
Oh my! Well, I've never done an isometric drawing on Procreate before. This is my first time, so.
Yeah, well, we're all learning something.
Wow! Oh my gosh!
Oh, then symmetry is what I use all the time. Symmetry is the one I use all the time, and you can set that up however you want to be like horizontal, portrait, landscape, whatever. It's sweet. And each layer that you want to keep that, if you want to keep that drawing guide, the drawing assist, you can pick, once you're out of here, you can pick which layer you'd like to put it on. And you can toggle it on and off. So you can be working on one layer and then toggle it off.
Oh, shoot. The only thing is I don't know, is there a way, I'm sorry if this is off topic now.
No, this is fine.
Is there a way to edit the isometric angle? Or is that the automatic angle? Do they not change?
I think that's as detailed as it gets.
Okay. I see.
You're asking a lot out of something you just figured out existed.
Okay.
Kidding.
Okay, that's gonna be my night, I guess.
If you figure it out, let me know. Let me know.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
No, it's a super handy tool. But yeah, if you go in there, if you go on your layer, you can turn on the drawing assist on whatever layer you want.
Okay. Huh.
But yeah, it's pretty handy.
Now I just look a fool. I look like a noob.
No, it was my bad for I know you would be blowing us all out of the water if this was you doing your watercolors.
Oh
but
my gosh.
and I knew it when I asked you. I was like, I know you do digital, you work digitally as well, but
a little bit.
But your bread and butter and what you have on your channel and everything, which is so amazing, is your watercolor.
Right.
So I'm kind of handicapping you a little bit for this, so I apologize.
That's okay. No. I'm going to turn this into a little animated GIF, so it's going to be cute. It's going to be worth it.
Perfect. Oh yeah, that'll be cool.
If it works. If I don't screw it up.
See, that's the other cool thing, doing the GIFs. I call them GIFs. You call them GIFs?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm a rebel. I refuse to call it what they want you to call it.
I think everybody makes fun of me. I did one video, and I called it GIF, and everyone's burning down the city because of it. I was like, you know what? I just needed more comments for that video. That's why I said it that way.
Exactly. Sometimes outrage is good because it just helps.
That's exactly right. Need to pad them stats.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm a GIFer.
So if you do a lot of watercolor, then when you work in Procreate, are you gonna be using watercolor brushes in here?
I don't. I feel
I feel like
I feel like if I wanted a watercolor effect, I would just use watercolor.
You know, there's some truth to that. I could see that.
I mean, I get it.
You're a purist. I get it.
No. I just feel like when I use watercolor, then I get the effect I want. But if I'm going to do digital, then I feel like I'm going to be using different tools and different things to do it.
Yeah, I get that. That's the same thing I tell everybody when I'm working on, especially with like client work. I'll be working on one project. They'll be like, okay, looks like you're asking more of like a vector look. So it's like my style very much changes when I'm working in Illustrator than if I was working in Photoshop, because I like to go more painterly when I'm in Photoshop because that's what my tools allow me to do. So
right.
I kind of go that route. But yeah, I pick and choose.
Oh, shoot.
Also, I think it would be frustrating if you worked all day long using actual watercolors and then you go on here and you're like, these don't work like real watercolors.
I don't actually think I've even messed around too much with the watercolor brushes on here for some reason.
Yeah, apparently, what was it? Dang, I'm going to have to put it up on the screen here later, but Adobe's coming out with the new brushes that are supposed to behave just like watercolor, where they kind of they bleed into each other slowly.
Okay.
So you get that cool gradient that you typically get with watercolor, and curious to see how that works out. Interesting.
Is that for Photoshop or?
I think it's for Photoshop, but I also think it's for Photoshop for the iPad. If I remember correctly, which is coming out. They said soonish, but who knows? Supposed to be. I thought it was supposed to come out this year. Maybe it's coming out next year. I think they're trying to.
Well, I don't have Photoshop on my iPad, but that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, the Photoshop they have now is not worth having on your iPad. It's not any good. It's not the same. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it so. I think the operating system that they're coming out with, the new operating system they're coming out with for the iPads, are supposed to handle those types of programs better. So that's going to be like the first thing that happens, and then they'll start allowing us to have a full iPad version of Photoshop.
Interesting. Are they trying to compete with?
I think so.
I think I heard that they were actually coming out with some sort of other program for the iOS stuff or something. I think they're doing more than just Photoshop. Yeah, they're definitely doing more than just Photoshop.
Everybody watching here is going to be like filling up the comments, being like, I know what it is. I know what it is. Please tell us.
But they'll never be able to compete with how expensive it is, I feel like.
That's always the case, I feel like. And Procreate has done such a good job. Like, I feel like I'm cheating on Procreate if I went over, I feel now. Because, like, they've treated us so well. Like, they've given it to us for a really low price, given us an amazing product. But also, like, the interface is really the big kicker for me, is because you have such small real estate to work with, so little real estate to work with on an iPad compared to, like, your giant screen or whatever you want for your computer. You know, so you have to have that interface smaller and out of the way, and that's why you just found that tool right now. You know what I mean? Like, they hide it all so that you don't have to have it in front of you while you're drawing.
That's true.
Which is really nice. But so, do you have certain brushes that you're working with right now that you could recommend, or are these just the base brushes from Procreate?
Yeah, I don't get into the whole downloading thing. For some reason, I just like to keep it simple. If I started downloading things and looking at things, I feel like I would get so overwhelmed I wouldn't even know where to begin. I had so many brushes.
I feel like this is a reoccurring theme with you.
Yeah, because even so, like, I used to use Illustrator and Photoshop, but I just used, like, the basic techniques. Yeah. I never, like, downloaded brushes or anything, and probably not the best. But, you know.
Well, no, I don't.
It works for me.
I don't think there's a problem with that at all. I mean, there's the whole limitations breed creativity type of thing. You know, with I watched this awesome interview with Jack White, and he was talking about from the White Stripes, and he had talked about, you know, how he would keep, like, how he kept it simple too. Like, you notice all their colors were like black, white, and red. Like, for all their album covers, for everything. Okay. And he's like, I just did that because it was one less thing to worry about and get in the way of the music, right? Like to distract him from the creative part. So if they already had that decision made, then you don't have to really think about, you can really just focus on what's important to him. And so, and like the same thing with him is like, I wouldn't bring extra picks, like with his guitar, because a lot of times when you're jamming out, you'll lose a pick or something in the middle of a concert, and you'll need to go, like, you usually have a handful there, or they have them attached to the neck of your guitar so you can just keep playing. But he would leave them in the back so that he would be very consciously and deliberately holding on to that pick the whole time. It kind of helped him focus and not get distracted. So little things like that all the time. He's just saying, like, all these restrictions, and that's really stuck with me too. And I'm terrible at it. I try my best, but I'm the type of person that downloads the pack of brushes, like the 300 brushes for $9.
Oh my gosh.
And then I sift through all of them.
Oh my gosh, that's too much.
Which I just did recently, and it's taking up too much of my life.
I did that when I first got my iPad, and I was going through all the Procreate brushes, but I found like 5 I liked, and I was like, yep, that's it.
It's a little bit of a rabbit hole. That's good. It's the same thing. I mean, like, I buy 300, I used 5. I mean, I don't ever... That's the sad part. Like, you never really actually use all of those brushes.
Exactly.
Okay, so
really, sorry, I messed up my angle so bad. I wish I gotta figure out that the
perspective
thing.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this ain't it. This ain't it.
that ain't it. No, it's. So, okay, tell me, so illustration. You did illustration, but did you go to design school? Is that where you got into graphic design? Or did you just study on the side? I just
went to a state university.
Okay, yeah.
So it had a bunch of different subjects.
But you were Illustrator before that? Like, were you always just illustrated?
Yeah, I was never into graphic design. Like I said, it was just like a safe job situation. But sure. I figured... Like, how many jobs in Illustrator do you know? For illustration, you know?
Sure.
So yeah, I studied graphic design just as a backup, and I just really wasn't really that into it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it does help my YouTube channel, like banner and thumbnails especially.
That's true.
So that's good.
I anybody that says like I tried design, didn't really like stick with it, or they do something either they didn't like it or they just found something else that they're more passionate about. I rarely hear any of them say like, oh, it was such a waste of time. If they're still like creative, they really use it. They really use the knowledge that they had from it, whether it's professionally or not.
Exactly. Like, I don't regret it. I think it's definitely a very useful thing to have, for sure, because bad design is very easy to do. I mean, I still do it.
Oh, I live in a land of bad design right now.
Oh gosh.
We moved. Well, the problem was we moved from Austin, Texas, and Austin, Texas, if anyone knows, is just an amazing creative hub. All the signage and everything is really well designed because there's so many talented creatives there, and they appreciate great design, and so you get kind of spoiled. And then I moved to Idaho, and it's harder to find.
Oh no!
Let's just say that it's much harder to find.
That's interesting. I didn't know Austin was so graphic.
No, it really is. It's like there is a ton of graphic design firms. There's tons of studios down there, and just really a lot of really just talented folks that are working on their own as well. But that's why we made the move to go down there. We moved all over, but we were in Boston before that, and we quit our jobs and moved to Austin to start Brave the Woods, and that was because there's just like that awesome community there.
That's cool, huh?
Yeah,
I've never been to Austin, Texas.
You should definitely visit. It's awesome. I say your neck of the woods is real pretty though too. Like
it is.
I love that part of Canada.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome. I lived right under you guys in Seattle.
Oh, that's right.
When I grew up in Seattle.
Okay, so have you been here then?
Mm-hmm. I have, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I like it. Honestly, I like it a lot more than Tennessee.
So is that where you're from originally?
I am.
Oh, okay. I did not know this.
Where I grew up.
I think you said that. Maybe did you say that in the intro?
I think I said I studied in Tennessee, but I'm not sure that I said I grew up in Tennessee.
Darn, we're going to have to cut that if so. You literally just gave your introduction saying where you're from, and I'm like, well, I didn't know that about you.
No. I'm sure I'm forgetting everything you're saying right now, too.
That's why it's nice and recorded.
There you go. I'll just pretend I listened to you.
Fair. Because I just keep talking. It's funny watching these. It's funny watching you work on these because like just the parts that you will finesse over too. So like my process, yours is like so much like tighter than my process. I feel like I have like one more step. I have one step in between this, like where you have your loose sketch and then you have a really tight one. Like mine's like I have to like tighten mine up way before I feel like I'm dropping in lines like you're dropping in. I get way too.
Well, I think that's what a traditional art has taught me, is to just do it and move on. Because I probably would do the same thing if I was doing this in like Illustrator. But I'm a lot more just like I jump in there more often now.
That's good, yeah. I can see that. Yeah, maybe that's what I need to do. I've heard a lot of friends will go to. I've not been confident enough to do this, or brave enough to do this, I should say. But I've had some people say that all their sketching phase they just do in pen instead of pencil, so that they can't erase or anything. And I'm like, I'm not there yet. I still like my undo. I actually bring my sketching phase to the iPad because I like it more now. Like I've totally moved over completely, but I need to get my hands dirty and try to do some more analog stuff. I literally just did a scrimshaw video recently, and that was really fun. And it was like just terrifying to know that once I was etching into that bone with that needle, like there's no going back.
Yeah, that's a little different than watercolor too.
I was like, man. But it also made me feel okay with what I made. And I felt like that was kind of freeing. I don't typically have that feeling. Usually what I make when it's digital, I always feel like it could be better. But when I make something analog, I feel like wow, this is exactly what I can make. And I don't really think beyond what it is. Like, oh yeah, but what if I change all these colors? I'm like, that's impossible. I can't, so I don't even think about it. But when I think on the computer, I definitely over criticize my own work.
You got to get out there, do some traditional art.
I know.
Do you participate in Inktober?
No, but you know what? I think I'm going to do it this year.
That's the whole point of Inktober, is to just get yourself used to just putting something down on paper and like accepting that that's what it is. Moving on.
I need to accept what I'm putting on the paper. I will do that. Yeah, you know, I've been saying I was going to do it, and I think I've started a couple times, and then it stressed me out, and I stopped. So
that seems to be the popular opinion about Inktober.
Yeah. I
got stressed out, so I quit.
That's it. Well, I think that's why it's nice to have things like the prompts and stuff. I have this Slack channel that I run with some friends, and we try to encourage each other with different prompts each week. But I felt like what was more stressful than actually drawing a prompt was coming up with a prompt to draw.
Oh my God.
That was super stressful, and I was like, it has to be good, and it has to be something I want. So subconsciously,
oh no,
I was still drawing what I wanted.
Right. That's why you get someone else to give you the prompt.
I know. I was the person giving the prompt for the group, and that was the problem.
Oh, okay.
So I had to start asking around. I was like, okay, somebody else help me.
You put too much pressure on it.
That's exactly right. That sums up me. Put too much pressure on myself. So I want to talk about what you're drawing right now. Can you tell us like what? So the prompt was what? It was mad scientist.
Mad scientist.
Okay, so what? Can you describe what you're drawing here? Because I'm excited to hear it.
I feel like I should have put myself in this because it's just like it's too much. So I'm for some reason decided to make it cactus themed, and if you know my channel, then cactuses are something that I go back to a lot. I just think they're really fun to make angular. So that's really fun.
Yeah.
And so we have a mad scientist girl here. She has a cactus for hair. And she's got all these weird creatures that are made out of cactus. There's like a half pig, half cactus in like a tube. And there's some weird creature that's coming alive, and she's all happy about it.
Oh, wait. I thought that was the other way around. I thought that was like the feet and the butt. Of the monster.
No,
I thought it was looking into the pot.
Oh, I could give it like butt cheeks, so that'd be funny.
That literally
like a dog going into it. Oh man. Okay. No, but it's like a headless cactus creature.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Like a Frankenstein. I should probably put like things sticking out of it, like Frankenstein.
So I wasn't trying to dictate what you were drawing.
No.
It totally looked like.
That's funny.
That's what I saw.
It does look like that. So yeah, it's just a cactus-themed mad scientist, and
I like it. I like it a lot. I like that you let yourself just draw whatever, and I feel like a lot of people like have a hard time just letting go like that. At least for myself, I mean, have you always been like this free with your drawing, or have you been more conservative before and just are like, you know what, it doesn't matter if there's cactuses in this mad scientist world, like that's what I want to draw and I'm going to draw it? Have you always been like that, or has this been something that's kind of developed over time?
I think I've always been like that. I always say that my main goal with my art is to make other people like laugh and smile. So I feel like with my art, I always just want to do something just unexpected and silly and just have as much fun as I can with it and make people look at it and be like, I don't know what's happening here, but it's weird.
Well, it's awesome. That's cool, because I feel like it's so far from like what I typically do, whereas I kind of mimic reality and then I'll kind of like make it slightly more playful.
Okay.
But I'm always really envious of people like yourself who are able to just like, I always like in my mind, it's always like, man, they're way more creative and imaginative than myself because they can come up with these awesome worlds that I could just never imagine. And I appreciate artists like yourself.
Well, you know what? The prompt series has really helped my creativity, I think, because it makes me I think your brain is one of the things you have to practice with art,
Yeah.
coming up with ideas and stuff. So I think the prompt series has definitely helped me be more creative and think outside of like the norm, for sure.
That's awesome.
It's okay.
I'm gonna start doing these prompts. I'm gonna do Inktober. You've inspired me. I'm gonna try it out.
Inktober's a fun one. I look forward to it every year.
Yeah,
It is terrifying though.
I feel like I'll have to put some sort of accountability on myself and maybe just do like a YouTube series with it.
Posting
Maybe.
online will definitely keep you accountable.
Yeah. Okay. So, other tips, like, if people who are watching, wondering, like, okay, how do I get into drawing and consistently drawing? Aside from, so you have the prompts. Do you have any other tips for people who want to get in? Maybe who are not even already artists, but are trying to get into just like being comfortable drawing. Do you have any tips that you would share with those people?
Oh gosh.
On the
Well,
spot?
definitely.
Sorry.
Yeah. Definitely don't compare yourself to others. I think that's like the biggest thing that holds a lot of beginners back, is that they compare other people's, not only their current like level of art is going to be different than yours because you guys started at different times. Not only that, but everyone learns and everyone grows at different rates. So I consider myself a pretty slow like artist as far as growth goes. But if you look back, I've grown. It's just slower than other people. Some people can pick up a pencil and be a master in a year. So it's just like, don't compare yourself to other people. It's good to compare certain things, but I wouldn't get hung up on, like success and how good someone is and like how long or how old they are. There's so many young artists that are so much better than me. It's crazy. So don't compare yourself too much. That's the main thing, I think.
I like that one. Because I'm sitting here comparing myself to all these. I do it to you. I do it to everybody that I interview. I do it constantly. And that's why I interview. That's why I have you guys on and do these episodes, because I'm always inspired by you guys' work. And so, but at the same time, it's hard to label something, especially in a creative field, right? It's hard to say like, that is like the pinnacle of art. And it's like, what is it? Like how what am I, what's the gauge? I think you have to kind of set your own benchmark or your own goal for yourself.
Exactly.
And
everyone's goal will be different. Yeah,
and I don't know if it's, it's hard because it's like, oh yeah, they draw really straight lines, or they're really good at they're great at shading or whatever. And that those are techniques that they've mastered, but I don't know if that necessarily makes them like a better artist or a better creative. And I don't think I don't think you can even say that. It's hard. People are always like, oh yeah, you're like way better than this person. I'm like, but I don't know if you can say that as much because it's all their own style. It's all relative.
Right. Exactly. Like I enjoy just like looking at more simple art styles, but people would think like the more detailed the better and the more skillful, but that's not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely skill when it comes to simplifying things and stylizing things just as much as like realism, I guess.
Well, I mean, isn't that what Picasso said? I think he's like, it took me a lifetime to learn how to draw like a kid or whatever, something along those lines, because he was like a traditional master painter,
right,
in his teens. It was just crazy. Like he could get the all the lighting and shading and all of that. He figured that out before it didn't take it very long. So he was this master, and it was like, now what? And so then you see all of his abstract and cubist work, and it's just interesting to hear him say like, yeah, that's what's hard. And I find that this might be relatable to you as a designer, but I feel like something as simple even as like a logo, like it takes you a long time. Like I could sit here and paint something super realistic in a shorter amount of time than coming up with like a really good logo.
Exactly.
Because I feel like when you're working with less, like you kind of have to be more strategic about it. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm just venting now, but
no, it super makes sense. Yeah, no, you gotta learn how to simplify things, but still make them recognizable with as little information as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm watching your like I've noticed that too on all your work. You kind of have these. It feels very organic, right? Your art feels very organic and tangible, but you do still have like the very geometric, like line. You like when you can put a straight line in there. You like to put the straight lines in there. Has that been something? But was that before or after design school, or being taking?
That
design?
was after. After I graduated, I didn't want a graphic design job because it wasn't something I enjoyed.
Sure.
So I kind of like had odds and end jobs, but I still was always drawing on my own and trying to develop like my art style and trying to get better and improve. And I noticed that my art's always been kind of on the stiffer side, and I've definitely drew a lot differently over the years, but I started to use my weakness towards my strength. And I did notice that there were times where like things were stiff or angular, and I was like, well, what if I just push that and like use that to my advantage instead of just being like, well, that's not good. I was like, I'll just make it good.
I'm just gonna make it work.
I think it was in 2016 I really started to push that angle and like simple style and stylizing like the way I shade and stuff, and I enjoy it so much more than what I was going for. Like in 2008, when I was trying to like get more detailed, I definitely like my more simple art. And like I said, I just enjoy looking at more simple art, like other people's styles. If it's more simple, I enjoy that more, honestly.
That's awesome. It's cool that you recognize
what
it.
your question was.
I don't even remember what my question was, but
the angle thing, right? The angle thing.
Oh yeah, was that before or after design? And you answered that.
Right.
It was kind of after, yeah, that makes sense. I wondered because I noticed a lot of designers who illustrate do that, with like they like to embrace the geometric shapes and, but I like it. Well, for me, it's almost like I like it because, and I don't know if this is what you do too subconsciously, but I find that sometimes I just start trying to look for relationships. So as I'm doing it, if this line is going to start, if it's going to go straight and then it's going to curve, then it's going to like angle off a tiny bit.
Right.
I might as well just make a straight line. Like I might as well just simplify that path.
Yeah.
And straighten it out. Like I didn't realize I was doing that for like a long time until I had to like teach an online course, and I was like, oh, that's what I was doing. Like I would simplify. And that's because I had to try to teach it. Once I had to teach it, I figured out what I was doing, which is why I love this type of stuff. Kind of, you just have to talk through it and you find out why you're doing what you're doing. But yeah, that was kind of one thing I noticed. I was like, oh man, I simplify it just because it's just not. There's no point. There's no point to keep it that way. And yeah, it is like if I was trying to draw this hyper realistic, then sure, keep it in there and keep it perfect to what it looks like. But it doesn't need to be.
No.
Man, and so I know we're going to be running short on time, obviously, for you to finish this. So I will make sure I will show everyone.
Gosh.
Don't you worry. I will show everyone the final, and they can go to your channel as well and see the speed paint. Correct?
Yes, I will have the whole thing with like different camera angles and the finished thing up.
Dang. Okay, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch that.
It just scares me that if it's taking me this long to do this on here, it's like, oh, I have so much more work to do on this piece. Oh no.
But it always looks so fast for us when we're watching your speed paint.
Right. Yeah.
Do you ever watch that afterwards? Like once you do it, like on Procreate, it automatically creates like a little video, like a time lapse. I look at it, and I'm like, well, it looks way easier than it should have been. Like I almost don't want to share some of my speed paints because like you don't know how many hours this took. It took 2 minutes for this video, but it took me like 20 hours to do it.
That's also the thing for beginners is that they see this like 30-second thing and they're like, wow, they did that so fast. And it's like, it took me hours. So that's also something I think a lot of beginning artists don't realize. Or they just, they see social media and it tricks them. Well,
you assume, because that's what social media is, right? It's not showing a true reality. You're not seeing everything.
The bad sketches.
You're not seeing the bad sketches.
No,
You're not
the bad
seeing
art.
The total process up to it. Yeah. You don't see where the hand that you drew was like all wonky, missing fingers, Like that's what mine would look like if I was sketching it at first, and then I have to go back until it looks, tweak it a million times. Even in like sometimes in my process videos, if I sit there on something too long, you can obviously tell in the process video when it's doing the time lapse. I'll like cut it out
Oh my
just
gosh.
to go ahead because I'm like, oh my gosh, they saw me work on that hand for like an hour. It looked pretty
That's
bad.
hilarious. That's also something I really like about the 500 drawing prompts series is that you see my bad art also.
Yeah.
Because I have to
I'm not
post
saying,
it.
yeah, I
can't
saw
just
your
skip
bad
that
art.
one.
I'm not
That's
agreeing
really
because
fun.
I saw your bad art.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, I like that, showing the bad, because a lot of people don't like to show it. And I mean, I don't like to show my bad art, but
Yeah.
I think it's important to show that just because I have a huge audience doesn't mean I don't also make a lot of bad art.
Do you think being that transparent has maybe even earned more respect from your followers?
I don't know. A lot of people make fun of it, but I'm just like, I don't know.
I mean, they're still following
I
you.
don't know
Clearly,
about
you still.
that. That's true.
They're not leaving.
Maybe the more dedicated followers have more respect. I think it's cool.
I think it's good too. I appreciate it. I appreciate it as an artist who was once just starting. Well, even now when I'm looking at some artists, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I look up to this person so much, and it literally looks like they're not even trying. It's effortless, and,
right?
You know, and I don't see any of the revisions that they've made or anything like that. So I really do appreciate seeing kind of a little bit peek behind the curtain, which is what this is. For everyone. So I appreciate you opening up and doing this with me because, you know, I feel like it's really important for artists to know that, especially like those artists who are feeling a little bit down about their own like abilities and or creativity, and realize like, yeah, there's like, we all make mistakes. We sometimes we don't even, like, we're professionals and we've been doing this for a long time and we have this big following or we make a lot of money, whatever the case is, but we don't know where a certain tool is. Like, that's totally cool. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I remember teaching my first Skillshare class, and
Oh gosh.
I did something and I didn't know what one tool was or a hotkey or something like that. And I thought for sure, once I posted it, I thought for sure I'd be like crucified because, you know, because I put it out there and I realized that afterwards somebody had told me the answer. I'd asked somebody, I was like, right? None of us know this. And they're like, yeah, I know this. And I was like, oh crap, I just did it on my video. What's going to happen? And it wasn't like YouTube content. It was a paid course. And surprisingly, I found that people were very receptive and really cool with it. And they were saying like, they all wanted to give an answer, right? They all were like, oh, I know the answer to that. Like, not talking down to me or saying like, oh, he should have known that. It was more, they felt included, but also a few people were like, hey, it's nice to know that you don't know every single thing. And it didn't like hurt what I was, you know, trying to accomplish. So I feel like that level of transparency is a positive thing for the creative community.
I like it for sure. Makes us #relatable.
#relatable.
Can you edit that out?
Oh, I'm keeping it in. I'm keeping it in. I was actually going to ask you two questions. One, have you ever thought of doing like a comic book or something like that?
Gosh, don't open that gate. That floodgate.
Okay, I'll ask you that one, and then you can address which one you want. That one, and
then...
then...
I mean, I'll answer it.
Okay, well, I'll answer that one first, and then I'll move on to the next question I have.
I have started so many comics over the years, and I do like 1 or 2 pages. I'm just like, this ain't for me.
No?
I really like, I think I've learned through the 500 drawing prompt series that I really like short stories. Do you know Shel Silverstein?
Love him.
I think that might be my sort of thing, because he, you know, all those books where it's just like a silly illustration with like a silly little rhyme or like it's like a short. Yeah, I think that might be something that I would love to do, because I just want to make all of these little stories, but I'm not committed to making like several comic books. Like, that doesn't seem like my jam. Sure. I think
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's more of what I would like to do.
Okay, what was my second question? My last question here. You are always drawing characters. Like, I feel like you don't have to draw characters in some of these prompts, but you go the character route. Why characters? Why do you like drawing characters?
Because I'm bad at backgrounds.
Oh, I feel like that was the other way around. Well, I'm not good at backgrounds
either, but bad answer. I'm so sorry. I guess it's just really to make a story. It's easier or more enticing to have a character to follow the story, or like who's the character of the story. Because I do like to. It seems like every 500 drawing prompt video, I'm like, okay, what's the story of this illustration? Like, who is this? What are they doing? So if there's someone there, someone to follow, I think that's why I always do characters.
No, that's good. I like your first answer too. I mean, like that's a super honest answer. Like,
background.
I feel like I avoid backgrounds sometimes unless that's like my sole focus. It's hard marrying both of them together.
Right.
Like I love playing with backgrounds, but then I'm like, I don't want to put a person in it. I'll put an animal in it, but I won't put a person in it. You know, it's rare that I'll put that person in there. But with the characters, I feel like that's one thing that sometimes I'll avoid. That's why I was asking you, because I was like, man,
really?
I'm just not as great with, especially with multiple characters. That's like one of my things that I'm trying to get better at. And I did like this whole like character challenge thing years ago. That was actually pretty good for me, but I think I went way too far. I shotgunned the style a little bit too much, and it was really hard to see if I was growing. You know what I mean? Like, because that's my thing. I can't stick with one style, and I think that was the problem with characters. If you just keep reinventing the character style every single time you're drawing a character,
right?
You're not gonna hands are drawn completely different, or the body is completely different. And it was so hard to be consistently like learning or growing. So. Thank you so much for drawing. Do you mind just zooming out for a second so we can kind of see where you're
see how little I did?
How little you could? No, no. I like this. I'm going to show the end of it all done, and then please after this, please go ahead and go to her channel and check out her speed paint of this very thing. All right, so I think that wraps it all up. Thanks so much for sticking around and drawing with us, Kasey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, where can people find you besides your YouTube channel? So many more people. If they're watching this, they're probably already subscribed to you. So, where can they find you on the other social medias and on the web?
Instagram, I post all of my art there, and then Twitter. That's pretty much it, really. Instagram and Twitter, YouTube. If you Google me, you'll find me probably.
That's true. And it's Kasey the Golden, typically everywhere else? Okay,
right.
Cool. Yeah, and I like your Instagram channel. Yeah, it's nice to see it all finished up and complete.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Yeah, thanks so much for sticking around. And I'm looking forward to seeing the whole speed paint on your end.
Me too.
Right?
A lot to do.
Once it's finished. All right. Thanks so much, Kasey. Well, I think that about wraps it up. I'm grateful to Kasey again for doing this and for letting me just kind of look over her shoulder while she's working and ask her questions. I know that's not as intimidating as much as it might just be distracting, and so she's trying to work on, her prompts. But I feel like the biggest takeaway from all of this, from everything that she was talking about, was just not comparing yourselves to others and just working, just drawing. Like, I feel like we get caught up in the little details and perfecting something instead of just getting it done and creating something. Get hung up with the undos and layers and all that stuff. So I'm guilty of that, and I need to work on that. So this is a nice fire under my butt to try that out. So I gotta thank her again, and thank you guys for sticking around and watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys haven't seen these before, we have several more of these artists that we've done. I've done videos where I interview and do working demos. We do them about once a month, but I have every other video that I put out once a week. So stick around. If you haven't already, subscribed, liked, and thanks so much. We'll see you next time.